Hello, this is Doron, and I would like to speak today a little bit more specifically, more concretely about shoulder work in both in rehabilitating shoulders and in protecting shoulders from getting injured. Um, so I spoke the other day in the other episode I recorded about shoulders, and I got some specific questions about, can you show us anything? And I could show a lot more, but I would like today to give you a taste of some awareness to movement lessons, some movement sequences from awareness and movement lessons that are for shoulders, and how they tie in together with this concept of integrating more of yourself into these movements. Okay? So watch me. I'm going to go to the floor to do some of these movements, and I'm not asking you to join me right now with these movements, but maybe to just watch and get some kind of an understanding of where we're at. Okay? One wonderful example would be bending one knee, standing one foot, and rolling the pelvis and the torso towards a shoulder. We're starting very small, as is very typical in awareness to movement lessons. So initially it's just testing and seeing how do I do this movement. You may be new to the Feldenkrais method. You may have done this many, many times. Rolling the pelvis, keeping the right foot flat, the left foot flat, the knee stationary, so we're moving away from that knee, rolling over to the side. So this is where the shoulder begins to come in. We're rolling into the shoulder. We're paying attention on how the ribs flatten, how the shoulder flattens, how the thoracic spine and the cervical spine are responding to the movement, right? And maybe eventually the arm goes a little bit further up. If you have a shoulder injury, it's very possible that you would rather keep your arm lower than shoulder height because it's safer for you. And it's still relevant. And it may change as the lesson progresses, or as you come back to this exploration at a different day, as you're beginning to heal, to get better, right? So what's really important here is that this is not a shoulder strengthening exercise. This is an organizational thing, right? We are using the whole of ourselves, from the standing left foot through the leg, efficiently moving ourselves towards this diagonal, right? The head could come up. The head could remain on the floor and roll over, right? There could be all these different combinations. Another wonderful version of this would be with interlaced fingers above the head on the floor. This is a little bit more challenging and maybe not for everyone. But as you roll over, and the shoulder blade is in a slightly different position right now, and again, it flattens the shoulder blade and it highlights the relationship between the shoulder blade and the ribs, the thoracic spine, the clavicle, the cervical spine, etc. Okay? Another wonderful example would be to bend both knees, lift the pelvis in the air. You can bring the arms under your lower back. This is a whole other awareness to movement lesson. And it's a small sequence from that lesson. You can lower the back if that is acceptable for you, and have the hands rest right there in the lower back area. And you can do all kinds of pelvic clock movements, which again, subtly but pointedly go to the shoulders as well. The shoulder blades are in a very interesting position when they're resting behind. As you can see, as you can feel when you try to do that, the shoulder blade is angled into the floor. Right? You can do this. You can lift the shoulder and bring the head into it. These are movements that are very interesting these movements are a few of the huge range of movements that are out there for shoulders, right? But again, our focus, as you can tell, is more on how the shoulder is relating to the rest of yourself, how the shoulder is relating to your spine, the other shoulder, the pelvis below, the head above, you know. I would like for you to, you know, you may try some of these, and I will show more in the future, but I would love for you to begin to have this thinking as part of your self-use globally. In other words, you're not just working with the injured shoulder, you're working with the rest of yourself. And you continue to check and see how things relate to each other. You don't ever need to have a very specific answer in mind. You're just listening, you're learning to ask questions, you're learning to pay attention to little details, and that is very powerful in the world of healing, okay? And again, there's more about this subject as I just presented it that I will speak about in the future. In the meantime, I invite you to compare this to some other approaches, even on YouTube. Some people who just continue to talk about stretching and strengthening and stretching and strengthening and which movements are good for the rotator cuff, etc., etc. And this is a different paradigm, okay? This is different. We are looking at organization, we're looking at what the shoulder can do, how to do it safely, how to use gravity, etc. So I would like for you to maybe check out my other link. I will link this video to my other video about the shoulders, and maybe together they will make more sense. And until next time.